Welcome to WYCD Wicked, that stands for What You Can Do. My name's Jake, and today we're talking about media and how it lies to you. I'm going to be asking you for clips on these events. What events? Take your pick. The U.S. is out of control. Uh, uh, the world is rightly responding to us as though we are a bunch of GD psychos, because that is how we are behaving. But you know what? Maybe, if you disagree with me, maybe it is that I'm misinformed. I certainly have issues with basically everything that I have seen on the news of the day, as represented by mainstream media, which, despite my best efforts, a lot of your best efforts, still is the primary way people are getting their news, at least in terms of audience share. So I want to look at these so we can at least understand, even if we're not going to change our minds today, at least understand who is lying to us, who we needn't listen to anything. We needn't listen to about anything ever again, and also the interviewers and the interview guests. Are they lying? Are they being called on their lies? Is the nature of their lies and the purpose of them being made clear? Is a sufficient job of questioning being done by the question askers? All of these things I would like to look at. Sounds like it's going to be a busy stream, but not really. Not really. For me, what I'm bringing to the table, Jake Tapper interview. I don't like Jake Tapper. I don't think he is. I don't think he's worthy of trust. But that's not the same thing as to say he is a frequent liar. He is a frequent skewer of the truth. So when you listen to something he has to say, you got to take it with a grain of salt. You got to assume you're not getting the whole story. Now, this is not the same as, say, anybody on Fox. Anybody on Fox is not only failing to completely inform you, they are actually actively misinforming you. For those that aren't aware, a study was done a couple years back that tested the knowledge of current events, not political opinions, but just what has actually happened recently. And the people that watched Fox News actually knew less about what was happening recently in their area, in their country, than the people who watched no news at all. Drink that in. So if you watched Fox News, you actually get less informed. You understand less of the world, and it's not just that the things that Fox talks about they tell you wrong, and they do. They lost a $700 million lawsuit to Dominion because they were straight up wrong about Dominion changing votes. In fact, that actually all came from a lady who said she saw her initial evidence for this. Not a joke. She said she saw in a dream. So, if you're watching Fox, you're not only misinformed, but also they when they do their propaganda show, they make it a point to not even mention events that might be uncomfortable for them to talk about, might be uncomfortable for their advertisers to have them talk about. And so you end up just not hearing about it. That's Fox, but CNN got taken over relatively recently, got new leadership, and they've been going down the tubes. CBS is a joke of its former self, with Tony Two Cuts being the lead anchor now. It's really impossible to take them seriously, and the leftiest of the left television programs, which news programs, and MSNBC has always been a, at best, let's call it a centrist news organization. But they've, despite having guests on that the left will be fond of, they serve the same masters. They serve the same, there's health insurance companies and pills being sold on their airwaves, just like everybody else's. So they are not allowed to actually address the root of any problems. My point is, you can find legitimate media criticism from any of these things. And I'm not saying this to get you to stop watching all these things. I don't think you'd be ill-served if you did, frankly. But no, what I want you to do is watch them critically. Get woke, in other words. Assume they're trying to screw you over in some way. That's what being woke pretty much means. You just assume the people in power are trying to fuck you. And if you go off of that, you'll find that you are very rarely surprised by government. You can still be disappointed. You can still have, hopes crushed. But if your assumption is that they're trying to screw you over, you'll be Nostradamus for your friend group. Let's say hi to the gang, though. I saw HBX. Good to see you. Lanzetta, great to see you. Love the dancing. Natchikit, hello. Oh, you like the music. That's called Fine Moves by Marscott, and it's available on audio with 2eyes.com. The hogs are loose and out of control. They sure are. Pinkerbell, hello. I'm sorry I went so high there. Pinkerbell, hello. Snixabia, great to see you. Yes, we are doing that now. We are providing choices. If you generally have been watching up until now, and you prefer the horizontal, that's always going to stick around. And just to be real with you, if you're one of the folks that watches on vertical, it might not. Because I personally prefer horizontal for a lot of boring reasons that you don't need to dwell on. It's just, but to sum it up, it's easier for editing. I prefer that. So we're always going to be doing horizontal streams, and we may return to these verticals from time to time. But to my regulars, we should talk also about how we're going to mod going forward, et cetera, because there's been a grace period here, but I don't want to. There's no point in having the big crowds that verticals sometimes gather if we're not going to have productive conversations. At the same time, there's no point in tossing people out like we're bailing out water if my goal is to talk to people I disagree with. And right now, that is my goal. Because I think a lot of the folks that disagree with us have been given very intentionally a wrong impression of even the things we believe. And I think the opposite is probably true as well. We've been given, or the reverse is probably true as well. We've been given a wrong impression of the things they believe. Jake Tapper is the lesser Jake. Thank you. I don't know how he got in the Council of Jakes originally. We are trying to get him out. I, in a misguided attempt, tried to replace him with Jank with an N, Uger, saying it was close enough. But then Jank went off the deep end, and I got egg on my face. And now nobody's listening to me at all in the Council of Jakes. And, I guess I can't blame them. We're working on it. All the cool kids are indeed on horizontal. Tim McCaffrey, good to see you. Yeah, good point. Good point. We just let's get to the media critique. What did Jank do now? Honestly, and in the scale of American villains, not much. Not even worth mentioning. I think it's not even that I disagree with his political takes of late. It's that I think he is selling out his political take. He's selling out his opinion for money. And I think that's evil. I don't think it's evil to play dirty if it's a dirty game. I don't think it's evil to be wrong if you're earnestly trying to be correct and you're taking a big swing. I think it might be irresponsible, but not evil. But what is evil is saying something you know not to be true for monetary gain. That's like textbook evil stuff. But honestly, we have people killing Americans, just killing people in the streets for no damn reason. So I have all the time in the world to wait to address Jank Uger. In other words, I don't think he's that bad. He's not worth our time to be angry at. If you have any anger in your heart, direct it at Kristi Noem, an actual straight up villain, a dog murderer. Kristi Noem, famous dog murderer, Kristi Noem. Here she is talking with Jake Tapper about how she called a U.S. citizen that got murdered by her folks a domestic terrorist, even though there was absolutely no evidence of that whatsoever.
You've also been criticized for your comments. The shooting, we should note, was Wednesday at 10:37 a.m. Eastern. Just over 2 hours later, the Department of Homeland Security put out a statement definitively asserting what had happened, defending the ICE agent, accusing Renee Good of domestic terrorism. That's a characterization that you reiterated in a press conference half an hour later. Now, Republican Senator Tom Tillis said, quote, "It was very unusual to have a senior law enforcement official to draw a conclusion about an event where the scene was still being processed. Generally speaking, law enforcement would recognize that a life was lost, that families are changed forever, the shooter's life will change forever. We're collecting video. We're trying to assess the situation." Why did you not wait for an investigation before making your comments?
Oh, well, everything that I've
Before she lies, and we know who this is. So let me just address the question itself. That is correct. What he is asking, what he's coming out the gate with. I'm dry watching this with the rest of you. I left my left eye, who was looking at this, to come talk to you guys because I wanted to come in ignorant. There's a foul joke to be made there, but I'm not in the mood. Yeah, I wanted to come at this ignorant, and to start, I think that is a great question because it addresses the core problem that I have with this administration, the core failing that it's engaged in right now. It is trying to spin. It is trying to rile up people. It is trying to justify the killing with rhetoric, with accusations. And for them, for the administration, there's no difference between an accusation and the truth because they're not interested in true things. They only are interested in what they are able to get away with doing. And if you don't think this can ever turn on you, if you, for example, have totally supported the killing of people in the streets that ICE has been doing, if you hadn't heard about the 4 deaths from ICE already, and you think ICE is a good organization, I want you to put in your mind this question. Was I one of the people that Trump was ranting about when he wanted the Epstein files to not be talked about anymore? Do you remember when Republicans signaled that they were going to vote to release the Epstein files with the Democrats? Do you recall that? Because he said he was getting on the phone and he said to them, "Don't you do it? Some of my this is something you can go ask Lauren Boebert about." He said, "Some of my friends are on there." Were you one of the people that supported releasing the Epstein files? Because Trump did not agree with you. And he has not complied, by the way. His Justice Department has not released all the Epstein files. Are you gonna keep demanding they be released? What are you gonna do when he starts calling you a terrorist? Oh, that's just a terrorist. It's a fake terrorist hoax, the Epstein files. So, you should care. You should care if they actually have to prove their accusations or not. What can you do about the ICE vehicles? Yes, indeed. I'll tell you right now, get a whistle, get an internet account, get a social media account. You whistle to get a crowd around you. You whistle for your own safety. Just jump this up here real quick. Yeah, whistle for your own safety. So everybody within earshot knows that you are approaching dangerous people. But use this right here. Elaine Sharp, Natchikit, Pinkerbell, Wanda, all of you have an account right now that can go live. I would recommend that when you encounter ICE in your area, terrorizing your neighbors, what you do is start a live stream immediately. Walk up to them and inform them that they are live. If I see that you guys are live, and by the way, put ICE emergency or something like that in the headline. ICE is here. All eyes on me. I will share that stream. I will rebroadcast that stream. I will make sure that lots and lots of people are instantly standing there with you. And you can inform the ICE officers, hey, you're live right now. There is 18 people watching. There's 34 people watching. There's 102 people watching. Or if you want to just scare them with the vagueness of it all, say the whole internet is watching you right now. You're live. That's one thing you can do. We do have to not merely ask, not merely beg. We do have to actually interfere. And a lot of us are going to get arrested for that. And I can only tell you that you don't stand against evil without paying a price. You have to decide for yourself, what is more important to me? Is it more important that I sleep in my bed tonight instead of a jail cot? Or is it more important that I be able to look myself in the eyes for the rest of my life and know that I was a good person? That I stood up when it mattered, that I did not let people deceive me. Hello, December. Good to see you. Yeah, just another day in the upside down. Don Rusi, I'd like to ask you a sincere question. And I'm not attacking you here. Please understand, I'm not attacking you. I'm not saying this just rhetorically. I want to know your opinion. Who is them all? When you say deport them all, who do you consider to be them? This won't be the whole show. We're going to go back to media coverage. But do answer that question for me, Don.
That has been proven to be factual and the truth. This administration wants to operate in transparency. I have the responsibility as the Secretary of Homeland Security to know this information as soon as possible. Had just been in Minneapolis the day before, had already had conversations with officers on the ground and supervisors, and knew the facts, and decided that the department and the people of this country deserve to know the truth of the situation of what had unfolded in Minneapolis.
But with all due respect, Secretary.
So there was a lie. She just said, deserve to know the truth. Now, Jake Tapper addressing the lie, because we just know, we know what she just said was untrue. She said the people deserve to know the truth. He's asking her about a lie she told, which was proven to be untrue. Renee Good was accused of being a domestic terrorist. Renee Good is not a domestic terrorist. Plain and simple. They said that the officer was ran over. He wasn't run over. We saw the video. He was not run over. He was fine. Let's see him respond.
The first thing you said was, quote, what happened was our ICE officers were out in an enforcement action. They got stuck in the snow because of the adverse weather that is in Minneapolis. They were attempting to push out their vehicle, and a woman attacked them and those surrounding them and attempted to run them over and rammed them with her vehicle. That's not what happened. We all saw what happened.
It absolutely is what happened. Those officers.
All right. She's there denying the facts to your face over and over, with the hopes that people who also don't care about whether or not something is true will continue the lie. Here's something you need to understand, a crucial thing that you need to understand, and Epstein couldn't have pointed it out more. If they are lying to you, it is because if you knew the truth, you would act differently. So they're not lying for no reason. It used to be, and look, you don't have to answer in the comments, but answer for yourself. Quietly. Just answer for this question internally. When MAGA representatives told lies leading up to the election, did you tell yourself, when you saw that they were disproved from time to time, when that made it through, did you tell yourself, but this is necessary? Yes, what they said isn't exactly true, but it's necessary because we have to trick other people. We have to trick other Americans. Did you tell yourself that? Because if that is something you told yourself, consider that now MAGA has the House, the Senate, and the White House. They don't have to trick people outside of their team if they're going to do what they said they were going to do. Why are they tricking you now? Why are they lying to you now? Is it maybe because every single day you're going to see a little bit more and a little bit more that this is just your Obama? And I say that as somebody who deeply regrets putting Obama in power. I voted for that motherfucker twice. I fell for his stuff twice, and it was just a hustle. The other night, somebody came on here when I was talking about Obama, and they said, now it's our turn. Totally missing who Obama was for progressives. I got bad news for you. If you are vocally supporting Trump now, you're not a centrist. I got real bad news for you. The old power structure in America, the one Trump is supporting right now, when he has those oligarchs dividing up Venezuela, when he's really doing his best to not release the Epstein files, they're centrist. MAGA is closer to progressives in terms of what we think about economics than either of us are to centrists. Why is Trump lying to you now? Why is Kristi Noem up there telling you that what you saw with your own eyes wasn't true? It's because she wants credit. She doesn't just want to get away with this killing. That's what progressives are worried about, and I think rightly so. That's what that's what we think is important. But when you look at the power structure of the country, Trump is looking for anything he can call a victory for MAGA ideals, for the things that he stated he would do for MAGA. And the reason he's looking to skew anything to that is because he cannot just show you a list of things he's done. Because he doesn't give a fuck about you. He never has. And just like Obama, he kept saying, wait till later, wait till later, wait till my last term. Oh, wait till the second half of my last term. Wait. And then on the very last day, he'll say, well, I tried. Why is he lying to you? Why did she have to say this was a domestic terrorist? Why couldn't she just say, well, the ICE officer, it was a scary situation. I don't agree with what he did, but I'm not going to judge him because I wasn't there in the moment. Some, bullshit standard answer. Instead, she straight up lied about the events. She's lying right now. Let's listen to her lie some more. Jake Tapper, for the rare moment, doing a good job.
Officers had been out on enforcement
Don't worry, he'll F
action.
it up.
A vehicle had been stuck. They had come to help get that vehicle out. That's when this individual started blocking traffic for minutes and minutes.
You said that the
before
woman
this
attacked them and surrounded them and attempted to run them over and ram them with her vehicle.
Blocked the road for a long time and was yelling at them and impeding a.
Do you see how she's just charging on as though what he said, like he just called out her lies, but you said the opposite happened. She attacked them, and then she just nods and keeps going. She didn't attack them. We've all seen the video 1,000 times by now. We've seen this woman die over and over and over. Tires turned away. Last thing she says is, I'm not mad at you.
Federal law
It's a
enforcement
lie.
investigation.
Why
That's
do
what
they
you
have
need
to lie?
Focus on, Jake, is they were breaking the law
So they
by
can spin their
impeding and
incompetence
obstructing a law
as
enforcement
working for you.
operation. They were breaking the law already, and these officers
Watch him go up
were
and
doing
grab
their
her
due
car.
diligence when
Yeah,
they're
it doesn't
trained
have a right to
what
do
they're
that.
to make sure they were
Yeah,
handling it
she starts
appropriately.
moving.
You said within hours
because
of her
somebody
being killed,
ran
you
up
said that she was a domestic terrorist.
and
How
attacked
do you define domestic terrorist?
She weaponized her vehicle to conduct an act of violence against a law enforcement officer and the public.
How
So
can
as
you
they are doing that,
how can you assert with certainty that she was trying to hurt the officer as opposed to she was trying to flee the scene?
if you look at what the definition of domestic terrorism is, it completely fits this situation.
I can tell you. A terrorist is someone who uses violence or the threat of violence to try to achieve political ends. That was not an act of terrorism. In the worst case scenario, that was evasion. By itself, not a crime you're allowed to kill people over. Also worth putting out, the ICE agent who did that did not have the authority to do that. They don't have jurisdiction over U.S. citizens. If you get a warrant, he would have had a warrant signed by a judge. Then he could have. But he didn't have that, obviously. And if you have a warrant signed by a judge, generally, the thing to do is have local police assist. So it's not just chaos. So you're not just shooting guns in the street. So you're not running up to a car on a snowy day, trying to drag somebody out without warning. By the way, they're masked and unidentified. Why would you assume that's a real cop? There was just a Democrat politician that was murdered by somebody who was masked and dressed as a cop, but was not a real cop. So why would you just put your lives in the hand of a random person waving a gun around on the street? You should not. Do you want Americans trained to behave that way? Trained to be so passive? Trained to just put their heads against the barrel of any gun that's pointed at them and say, yes, oh, yes, please, put me out of my misery? Is that how you're going to behave? Are you that much of a sheep? I don't think so. I do not think so.
Situation on the ground. This individual, as you saw in the video that we released just 48 hours after this incident, showed that this officer was hit by her vehicle. She weaponized it, and he defended his life and those colleagues around him and the public.
Let me just address that lie. He was standing at the side of the car when he shot her twice in the head. He was not defending his life.
The question is, I don't doubt. My position is, I wasn't there. I didn't see it. Some people say that it clearly showed that she was trying to hit him and did. Some people say, no, she was clearly trying to move her car and flee and get away. I don't know. What I'm saying is, how do you know? How can you assert for a fact within hours before any investigation, this
Great
is
question.
what happened?
The facts of the situation are that the vehicle was weaponized and it attacked the law enforcement officer. He defended himself and he defended those individuals around him. That is the definition. When there is something that is weaponized to use against the public and law enforcement, that is an act of domestic terrorism.
That's literally not what an act of domestic terrorism is. If somebody throws an ashtray at a police officer, is that domestic terrorism? They're weaponizing an ashtray. I mean, it's illegal. It's assault. What's the point of having words if they don't mean anything? How? Let me ask you this from a different perspective. If you're on the right wing or if you're lefties wondering, how am I going to talk to these people? Do consider posing it this way. Why will those words have any meaning if you use them on Renee Good, mother of 3, murdered? When it comes time to deal with an actual domestic terrorist, like let's say we have another Timothy McVeigh, and they're going to blow up the next abortion clinic or whatever, and they got a truckload of fertilizer, and they're on their way to do this thing, but thankfully they're arrested. What are they going to be charged with? Maybe the same thing that the person that threw the ashtray was charged with in her in Kristi Noem's world. That charge won't mean anything. That's just the standard charge that the police use then anytime they don't like something you did. How are you gonna charge them harsher? How are you going to differentiate in a court of law that what one person did was different from what another person did, and therefore discourage people from being domestic terrorists? Because if you charge everybody as a domestic terrorist, regardless of what they do, well, then you may as well do the terrorism. There's no harsher penalty for it. It's the same penalty you get if you fucking cross the street wrong in front of a nice person. If you mock them and their fifis get hurt, as they tend to do, they're sensitive little ones, you're going to get charged with the same thing.
In our shores, it happened here in our country. You don't get to change the facts just because you don't like them. We will continue to look at this individual and what her motivations were. We know that there was.
I'm going to give him one warning. So, just a white boy, I appreciate that you disagree with us, and I commend you for being willing to listen to people you disagree with. But let me offer you something here. I suspect that you do not have an accurate understanding of the things I believe. Now, I'm not asking you to believe the things I believe, but I am telling you, you have an opportunity here to know more about the people you disagree with than you did before you came in, to know more about the people you disagree with than your general group of friends. That's important. Even if your ultimate goal is to defeat me politically or in a baking contest or whatever. If your goal is to defeat me, you'll have an easier time doing it if you actually know the things I believe and the things I intend to do. Uh, I don't think it's in your interest for me to shut the fuck up. Um, I would recommend you just hear us out. Now, see, this is what I'm talking about. The fact that you think that the person I would want to be is David Pakman, that shows me that you are being lied to about who I am, about who progressives are generally. If you think David Pakman is the guy that somebody like me wants to be, oh, I can't imagine what else you think about me that just simply isn't true. Now, look, you're right in the broad strokes. I am a wannabe of somebody. There is somebody I very desperately would love to be. And I bet everybody watching in the horizontal stream could name the person. I'm going to challenge you right now. I'm going to write it down on a piece of paper. And I'm going to challenge people in the horizontal stream. Write down the name of the person that I want to be, that I wish I were, but am not. Now's the time. Write it down. I'm just going to show you that you don't know us, and you have the opportunity to know us, even if you want to use it against us. There's a piece of paper. I don't even have to check. There's the correct answer, and there you go. Yeah. Well, obviously also, but these things are related. Look, I'm just saying, give it a shot. You're here anyway, and I thank you for the comments and the pop in the algorithm, even though, this is leftist media. You don't have to worry that it's going to get popular. It never will. It's very depressing. And it's never over. There's never a victory point. We're always trying to help the next person, including you, believe it or not. So just a white boy. Just another Michelle Obama's cocksucking. Now see, this is what I'm talking about. You're trying to get under my skin with the whole fear of, you're expressing your fantasy to me, hoping I'll get mad about it. And I get that. But we don't like the Obamas. You understand? And this is how this could affect you directly. I assume you would be thrilled if Barack Obama was put on trial for murder. Like, I assume you would like that, right? And you have a group of people here who would be on board for that, who would help you get that done, who would pressure people from the left. As in, we would pressure people who can help make that happen, and we would do it from the left flank. And if you're doing it from the right flank, son of a gun, if we're doing it from two flanks, it's going to be bipartisan, and it's going to be more likely to happen. We can make this happen. But first, it does require on your part. You've already done the harder thing. You're already sitting here listening to me jabber on about CNN and this and that and the other thing. But if you just understand a few things, like why we don't like Obama, suddenly the world will open up to you. Suddenly, so much more power comes to you, because you can reach out at any point and say, I know a group of people that will help me get things done. And there are people you're not prepared to fight, Democrats. That's why I'm doing vertical, because I see in you the same thing. I see issues you care about just as much as I do, and we actually have the same opinion on. And we don't need to start voting for each other's people. I'm not even going to bother asking you to do that. But you can take the people you put into power, and I can take the people I put into power. There's less people, admittedly. I can take the people I put into power, and we can both work together to fuck Obama to death. And all I ask is that you also fuck to death anybody else that did the same stuff Obama did, which is going to turn out to be basically every U.S. president. But that includes Biden. It includes Biden. It just also includes Trump and Bush. On what is a great question. Number one, I see a lot of MAGA folks want to get big money out of politics. You don't like George Soros buying elections. You don't like Bill Gates buying elections. A lot of you don't like AIPAC buying elections. Good. We want all of those people the fuck out of our business as well. I see that you also seem to hate Chuck Schumer. Excellent. I see that you also seem to hate Hakeem Jeffries. Good. Getting you guys on board with hating Hakeem Jeffries is, like, for us, something I thought would be a huge struggle, but it's not. It's you're already there. Great. Generally, I agree with libertarians about how much power the government should be allowed to have when it comes to bullying citizens. We seem to broadly agree on marijuana laws. We seem to generally agree that the U.S. healthcare system is screwy and deserves a fix. I mean, there's just a lot of little issues that people don't prepare us for. Yeah, pretty much, yeah. That's broadly speaking the way we feel as well. I think we're probably going to disagree on a lot of the specifics, like what needs to be shrunk down, how to shrink it down. But honestly, it's detail stuff. We're there's a lot of wiggle room we have, and I'm pretty sure we can come up with a version of shrinking down the U.S. government that you would appreciate. We have space here. The reason you and I are fighting is because centrists know that if you and I stop fighting, they're going to fucking die poor. And it gives me, I've been asked not to say it out loud, but it makes a certain part of my body go like this, thinking of Chuck Schumer dying alone in a gutter. If he could go out like Poe, that would pretty much be amongst the best things that could happen in my life. Let's listen to Jake Tapper continue with Kristi Noem. By the way, if there's any clip you'd like me to look at, drop it in the comments. I'll have a gander.
Throughout that morning, she had harassed and impeded law enforcement operations. That raises the suspicion level with all of these law enforcement officers as far as paying attention to what her capacity is. And as you see on the videos, and they've proven out that this law enforcement officer took the action that his training prepared him for, and he worked to make sure that he could save his own life and those around him.
How can you assert that there's no ambiguity in this before any investigation has taken place?
I had just been in Minneapolis and had been with those officers, had seen what they were facing on the streets every day, and had talked to their supervisors as soon as the incident happened and had gotten the facts and seen videos before I ever went to talk at that press conference. And the Trump administration and President Trump is the most transparent and open government that we've ever had. Give the public the information,
Pink.
give them what they.
I don't know if they can. If that ends up not working, I apologize. And we'll work on a way to make that happen. I cannot just have anybody posting links because otherwise we'll get different bots. I know there's going to be always some bots because the internet is cursed, but we did used to have a lot of people trying to sell dates online.
they need to know about a situation so they can have the truth as soon as possible.
So if this agents were perfectly fine, if everything he did was accurate, does that mean that other ICE agents should
He
look at
wasn't
what?
perfectly fine. He was injured. He went to the hospital.
No,
He
his
was
actions were
treated.
fine. I didn't
In
say.
fact, I think a lot of people and guests, and even you yourself, called this situation something very different and untruthful about what it was. As far as
What
this
did I say that was
individual,
untruthful?
that this was not a correct definition of what was happening on the ground. That
I
this
said that your description, they were attempting to push out their vehicle and a woman attacked them and those surrounding them and attempted to run them over and ram them with her vehicle.
Tia, I just played those comments on stream. You know what? I'll read them out loud though. Let me just. That's too much for me to put up all at once, but it is. Fuck it. I'll just do it. Tia Fireball says, "Did you know that in 2014, an internal review of the U.S. Border Patrol found that 67 different occasions during a 2-year period. Oh my God. The U.S. border agents deliberately stepped in front of moving vehicles to justify shooting people that were in them. And that was from 2010 to 2012 when that was in fact happening. And Jonathan Ross, the man who shot the woman in Minneapolis, was there from 2007 to 2015 working for Border Patrol. When you watch the video now with that knowledge, it looks a little bit different. It looks like he stepped right there where he did on purpose. You know, maybe. Yeah, and he walked back to his car. Maybe. But my major concern with this isn't even Jonathan Ross, the murderer. Yes, that is a major concern. But more major than that is this. Why is she lying about it? Jonathan Ross's actions do not have to implicate the whole administration, the whole ICE operation that's happening in America, unless they behave exactly like this. Unless they do what Noem is doing. Because what they could have said is, yeah, this guy acted unprofessionally. They could have even said this guy acted in a way we do not condone. However, because of the stress of the situation, we are not going to pursue federal charges. By the way, I don't think there's anything they can do to avoid state charges. Those are coming. Pardon-proof state charges. But do you see my point? That you don't have to agree with me that ICE should not be out there doing what they're doing to acknowledge that these people are lying to you about this incident. This guy seems to be habitually bad at his job. The way he approached the way his partner or whoever was with him approached the car was wrong. When he stood in front of the car, that's a wild move to make. When the car is not parked, when the engine is not off. And yeah, she turned her wheels and tried to drive away. Turned her wheels away from him, by the way. But do you see that it is a separate issue? Whether or not you agree, they're trying to get you to argue about whether or not we should be assaulting people in the street, which I think is an obvious no. But separate from that, the way he did the assault was wild. Absolutely wild. Was unprofessional, was just like a bandito, basically. So to have this person out there, you know, Kristi Noem pretending like, oh, well, that's exactly what people should have done. Now that tells me they need to lie to you. They need to try to turn this into a positive for themselves because they have no positives to offer you. All they're doing, it's the same thing we've been doing since George W. Bush. They're trying to scare you. They're lying to you about other people, making them seem scary so that they can take away your rights. We used to have a right to not be spied on by the government. George W. Bush took that away. Homeland Security is basically an internal you spying on organization. But we were scared of the terrorists, which it turns out weren't even the people we were attacking in Iraq, which everybody now admits is true. But in the middle of that fear, in the middle of that fervor, when they got enough people to go along with their lies, they plucked away your rights one at a time. This stuff, what we just saw in Minneapolis, that's just the stuff you know about. How many people that were getting a little bit loud about the Epstein files are suddenly silent?
Vehicle is not what we see on the videotape, and it's not.
It absolutely is the facts of what happened on the ground that day. They
No,
they
it's-
were there pushing out
He's
a vehicle
lying
earlier.
again
They
and
had
again
not
and
helped
again.
each
But that's
other
not
do
what you
that.
said. That's not what you
Yes.
said.
Yes,
Yes,
it
they were
is. It's
pushing out a
absolutely
vehicle.
what I said. There's not one.
We
thing
all
that-
seen the video. I don't need to relitigate it. We've all seen the video. She is blocking the street. They approach her.
You haven't seen the video of the entire morning and the previous encounters with this individual.
Oh, we have
Yes.
aired it. Yes, we have. On Thursday, we were airing and noting the fact that she was there for several minutes, for minutes and minutes and minutes. She was protesting without
And at
question.
previous locations that morning, that absolutely that these.
Do you see that she just repeats a lie over and over? Like, that's as advanced as she gets. This is a great question. Horizontal viewers, do you see what I'm talking about when I say that we can work with these folks? Do you see? I know it sucks. I know we've been trained to argue with each other, but do you see the opportunity we have here? That is a fantastic question. Why didn't he release the Epstein files? Why didn't he? Because he had the opportunity to. And I realize that he doesn't, the president doesn't directly control, the DOJ, but the president appoints the attorney general. He appointed Merrick Garland, who sat on his hands for 4 years. And nothing happened. We now know it would have been very embarrassing for Trump. So he even stood to gain politically. I'm not saying that's a reason to do it, to make your political opponent look bad. But we know that he clearly could have benefited politically anyway from doing the right thing. So why didn't he do the right thing? It's a good question. I have theories. I don't have any proof because all the Epstein files aren't released yet. But I sure have theories, like he's on him. Or he knows somebody that's on him. Gotta wonder, did he know Bill Clinton was in that hot tub? Did he know there was a picture of Bill Clinton floating around there? I suspect Biden is smart enough to have not asked. Because if he would have asked, then he would have an answer. And his actions would be implicated. The decisions he made to not do anything would have been implicated by his knowledge, or I don't know if implicated is the right word. He would be implicated in a cover-up if somebody was out there to say, well, yeah, Biden asked me if there was prominent Democrats on that list, and I told him there are. Then he could be accused of a cover-up. But what a smart guy would do is just not ask. Like, nah, I heard the rumors. What we're going to do is just sort of let this quietly go away. That's a great question. Why did Biden not release the Epstein files? My theory, because he or prominent Democrats that he knew of were on the list, and he didn't want to embarrass his friends. That's what I think. Now, I don't think Biden himself diddled kids because during Epstein's prominent era, let's not go into the details, but Biden was suffering one family tragedy after another. There was the car accident. There was his son's addiction. Then there was his other son's going to war. Then there was his other son's return to addiction. And there was his other son's dying of brain cancer. He just never had an opportunity to diddle a kid. I think he's got the character of a kid diddler for sure, but he never lived that kind of life just through random circumstance. But I think he absolutely covered up for prominent Democrats. Yeah, I think he probably covered up for a few Republicans that he likes too. When we eventually pry the rest of the Epstein files out of the Trump administration's hands, they, I can't stress enough, have yet to release an estimated 20 million documents that we as a people now legally have a right to review ourselves, because our Department of Justice passed through Trump, then Biden, then Trump again, without fucking punishing anyone for diddling kids in our country. So when we finally get our hands on that, we'll have the answers, and I would like you to help me find them. And if you just want to like put on blinders and ignore every Republican name you see in there, okay, I don't know why you would. They're not your friends. I don't know why you'd want your party sullied with diddlers, but fine, you do that. And you come to me and tell me all the Democrats you find in there, you'll still be doing half my work for me. But these motherfuckers, I don't care if they agree with you about tax policy. If you diddle kids, you gotta go. That seems like something we could all agree on, right? Like there's no tax policy you could have that makes it okay to kids. Okay, good. Great. Keep asking these questions, buddy. And I think you'll find 100% support you in getting these answers. One point of clarity, though, because we have been screwed up here many times. You can't just make up an answer. You can't just make up something and say that's the reason and we're going to put you in court over it. You can't just say, well, Biden obviously had a harem of 12-year-olds or whatever feels satisfying to say. It's got to be actual things. Tia Firebolt, I generally disagree. Now, I'll admit we did not have a law passed at the time, but he could have gone to Congress and say, listen, we need the Epstein Accountability Act. Jeffrey Epstein died in prison under mysterious circumstances. He was charged with heinous crimes that involved sex trafficking children. And the DOJ knows who he was sex trafficking children for and to. So if the DOJ is not going to charge, if we're going to honor Alexander Acosta's deal, and the DOJ is not going to charge any of these people, then the American people have a right to judge for themselves how we are going to proceed, at least who we're going to vote for. Because how many of these people were running for office with the full knowledge that they were rapists? Tia, you and I generally will agree on stuff, but what I want us to start doing when we see, even when people from across the aisle are trying to rile us up, when they're not seriously asking questions, they're just trying to get us angry. I want to see us as eager to throw people from our team under the appropriate buses. Because Joe Biden, who endorsed genocide in Palestine, who couldn't be bothered to put in an attorney general that would actually take January 6th seriously and arrest the organizers rather than the people that got conned into being part of that riot. Well, not a riot. That was an organized attempt to overthrow the government. But even, these people are not our friends. Joe Biden is not worthy of us risking our reputations to try to defend an untenable case. Look, he had the Epstein files. He had at one point all three, just like Trump has right now. Biden at one point had all three branches of government. He had the ability to do something, anything about this stuff, and he chose not to. To be real with you, in 26, this very year, I am hoping that we gut most of the Democratic Party. I don't see a reason not to just primary everyone. Everyone, even if we like them. Because this is, our representatives now are just a collection of collaborators, in my opinion. Yes. I'm not sure I agree with the specifics, but broadly, Roxas Stormcrow, yes. Both sides been working against the American people for the last 100 years, ever since the Federal Reserve Bank took over. I would say not the last 100 years. I would say the point at which Democrats and Republicans both became puppet parties for the oligarchs was Buckley v. Vallejo. If you want to pinpoint the administration, the Reagan administration. Ronald Reagan gave the economy a sugar high, which was to say an unhealthy boost, a boost that was going to turn around and bite us because only rich people got richer under Reagan. And because he was popular during that time, the next presidents all tried to be like him, including Bill Clinton. And Bill Clinton, Reagan locked it in for Republicans. Once upon a time, Richard Nixon had environmentalist policies that he was forced to support, but nonetheless did support. Ronald Reagan really changed all that. He made it so that you could pretend like worshiping rich people was a political outlook. And Bill Clinton picked it right up. He locked it in for the Democrats. So although we disagree with the starting point, yeah, they're both captured by the oligarchy. No matter what they say. And I hate to break your hearts, but this is not only is Trump included, Trump is the poster boy for this. They will say anything. They will wink at your morality when they are trying to get the job. But ultimately, both of them only are there to make sure that the rich people get richer and that rich people have less obligations to give anything back to the communities that they derive their wealth from. And you can phrase that 100 different ways, but that's just what it comes down to. Look up Catherine Austin Fitts, who was responsible for finding the lost funds and reported it to Bush 1. Ooh. Yeah, Elaine Sharp. Bill Clinton is in Epstein's address book and was apparently shirtless with Ghislaine Maxwell. Yeah, every single president was doing the same thing. DOD, HUD, and the Department of Treasury were funneling funds to private corporations to build the surveillance and control grid. Yeah. All right. Roxas Stormcrow, if you're not on the Discord, I hope you are a Discord user. Go to our WYCD. I'll just pop it in the chat real quick. I'd love to chat with you. You seem like the sort of fella who we could have detailed conversations with. I would enjoy this. But I don't have time now. I'm not even going to finish. Yeah. Let's just finish the CNN interview. Honestly, Tapper's doing fine. He's just expressing frustration at the fact that Kristi Noem is not acknowledging reality.
Vehicles had been previously down the block on video that you haven't seen. There's more information.
But the
that
question
this individual
is not
impeding law enforcement operations throughout the previous moments and hours before this incident
the question is, what was she doing when she was moving her car?
The question
That's the question.
Is why are we arguing with a president who's working to keep people safe? Why are we arguing with law enforcement operations that have gone on?
So this is what I'm talking about when I say they lie to you. Like, I may or may not agree with her answer to that question. She may or may not think that the person who was there did a great job. But he just asked her a direct question, and she tried to distract. So he said, why was the person there when she was moving her car? And she said, the question is, why are people disagreeing with a president who's trying to hurt? No, it's not. He just asked you the question. And you should be concerned that somebody who is supporting supposedly your side feels the need to dodge the question. If they can't give you a straight answer, that should be noted by you. Even if you still end up agreeing with them, you should note this person is not worthy of trust. I have to verify that the thing she says is true because she will say whatever is necessary to make her life easier. And that apparently includes if somebody dies about it.
On in this country for years, and we're working to collect murderers and rapists and drug traffickers and fraudsters off the streets of Minnesota.
Just want to point out, over 80% of the people picked up by ICE have not only no warrants out for their arrest, not only no recent crimes, but have zero criminal records. Understand that. Zero criminal records.
And we don't have local law enforcement and local elected officials that are partnering with us to help do that work. Overwhelmingly, the people in this country said they wanted America to be safe again, that they didn't want dangerous criminals on our streets. I would encourage the elected leaders in that city and in that state to work with us so that we can do our operations without the kind of opposition and people that are conducting and perpetuating the kind of violent rhetoric that we're seeing today.
DHS policy authorizes use of deadly force.
Hold on, violent rhetoric. Do y'all remember Charlie Kirk? Y'all remember right after Trump got up there and said, well, this is because everybody calls us Nazis. They exaggerate and they make us seem worse than we are. First of all, I'm not exaggerating when I call Trump a Nazi. I think that's pretty much what he is. You know, in the ways that it counts, certainly, he lies with his rhetoric to try to get people killed. I think he's a stochastic terrorist, specifically. But let's just look at the raw facts here. She just lied about who Renee Good was. She just multiple times tried to call her a domestic terrorist. No evidence of that. She tried to redefine what a domestic terrorist is. I explained to you what a domestic terrorist would be. She's gone out of her way to lie. She is using her rhetoric to put other people in danger. She's trying to get me killed. She's trying to get the next Renee Good shot to death. And she's trying to get you all. Y'all right there. She's trying to get you to lower yourselves to saying that she's correct. A day will come when you feel regret for that. And it might be because you get far enough away from this that they stop bombarding you with propaganda and you find out that you've been lied to about the people you hate so very much. It might be then, or it might just, it might be earlier. It might be that you keep insisting that the DOJ obeys the law and releases the Epstein files. And one of those times when you insist upon it, they say, well, you're a terrorist now. And then they shoot you in the chest. You are going to regret blindly supporting these people. And I say it because I blindly supported Obama, who ran the same scam on us. He seemed like he agreed with us. He winked at our morals, progressives I'm talking about. He promised a vague change, like how somebody might promise that they're going to make your country great. He promised that he was going to change the way things work around here. One of those very vague things. Vague so that they don't have any actual goals they need to hit in order for us to track them. And because of that promise from the campaign trail, I gave this dude 2 terms of patience. I am now of the belief that that is at least 1 term too many. I actually think you should really only give them the first 100 days to start getting things done. And if your life does not tangibly improve in that time, it's time to start pressuring your own party. Because if you're not in control of your party, who is? You're in the middle of the same mistake I made a decade ago. But you have the ability to not make that mistake. You have the ability to actually make this country the way you want it to be. But you have to not blindly accept bullshit from the people in charge. The lie you want to believe is the most harmful one. You want to believe that this was a righteous killing. It very clearly was not. The best I can describe it as is incompetence. But I'm not going to because it was murder. But in the most generous interpretation, this was an incompetent person who had no business being there. And the fact that the administration is lying about it tells me, number one, they're trying to get something away from you that you would not give them if they told the truth. And number two, they don't care. They just don't care. These are not people who are worthy of your trust, and they're certainly not worthy of your patience, and they are certainly not going to do things for you if you don't make them. But that doesn't mean you can't make them. You can, but be real about who they are. They're not your friends, they're your employees. Treat them like it. Don't accept lies from Kristi Noem like this. At the very least, say, why would you represent our side so poorly? Why would you so obviously lie to America? Have higher standards for your own people.
Of course, only quote, when no reasonably effective, safe, and feasible alternatives appears to exist.
Yeah, Kathy, let's talk about this. It wasn't self-defense. We've seen the video. It very clearly was not. He shot her in the side of the head. He shot her from the side, meaning he was not in danger when he killed her. So obviously it was not self-defense. Do you think that it's acceptable to execute a U.S. citizen to send a message to others? Do you really think it's acceptable to get angry, and when you're having those big feelings on the job with a gun, to murder somebody to make an example? Is that a country that you think is good? Like if you were seeing this country represented in a movie, and the scene they show you about the country is that somebody steals a loaf of bread and the cop says, "Hey, kid, wait." And the kid goes and runs, and the cop pulls out a gun, goes, and their brains scatter. They drop. The bread gets soaked in their brain and blood. Nobody can eat it anymore. And they turn with the smoking gun and they say, "Anybody else want to steal on my watch?" Yeah, what about you? You look like a terrorist. What about you? You? When you were a little girl, Kathy, is this the kind of person you imagined you'd be? Did you imagine you would, with bitterness in your heart, be saying, he's just sending a message? Don't fool around and find out. Is this the kind of grown-up you thought you'd be? Do you think you'd be a good person or a bad one? Mull it over. Here's more lies.
Could he not have just gotten out of the way?
This individual and this officer is a highly experienced law enforcement officer. He has years of training and specialized training for these types of situations.
Now that is true. As I believe Tia Fireball pointed out, that is true. He does have specialized training for this situation. He apparently turns up on other reports for stepping in front of cars to try to get an excuse to murder people.
We're grateful that he's alive. It's a tragic situation, and we're going to
That's a generous use of the word
work
we.
on the investigation into the individual and find out what the motivations were behind her actions that day.
We're grateful that
agreed.
that he's alive too. I want to play this moment from the officer's cell phone video.
Get out of the car. Whoa!
Dead.
Fucking bitch.
Her last words to them, "I'm not mad at you." His last words, To her, fucking bitch. That's the character that you're dealing with here.
Is that Agent Ross's voice calling Renee Good a fucking bitch?
I can't determine which one it is, but it could be, sir.
In June of last year, Agent Ross had his arm pinned in the back window of a car as an undocumented immigrant who was a criminal drove away from a traffic stop. It dragged him about 100 yards. Here's what Vice President Vance said about the incident this week.
That very ICE officer nearly had his life ended, dragged by a car 6 months ago, 33 stitches in his leg. So you think maybe he's a little bit sensitive about somebody ramming him with an automobile?
Here's an issue. Why are you putting him back out on the street? JD Vance is posing that as though it's a defense. You're suggesting that somebody who was dragged like that then has permission to panic? If you have reason to believe that they're going to panic and kill a U.S. citizen in the way that guy did, shoot him in the side of the head, shoot him through the driver's side window, that is now, whoever his supervisors were that put him in the field, they are now culpable as well. This is not a way we can allow anyone to behave on U.S. streets. I don't care what you say their job is. Our streets are not a war zone. And we keep them that way by insisting on law and order, by insisting on procedure. If somebody is driving off and you're mad about it, that doesn't give you the right to execute them. Got 3 orphans now because of that. Well, at least 1 orphan.
If this is relevant, first of all, it's horrible that that happened. If it's relevant,
Yeah, not too
which
short
the Vice
about it.
President seems to think it is, do you think this understandably very traumatic event that this officer went through last June might have influenced, as the Vice President is suggesting happened, how he responded?
Now, there's no indication to that, but the facts is that we've seen vehicles weaponized over 100 times in the last several months against our law enforcement officers. So they definitely know that the threat is real, that individuals who are trained by activists to go out.
So, Kathy, I want to address something. I'm not going to address all this because there's just too much, but I want to get to one thing. You said another podcaster stated, so let's just be clear. Grain of salt. I assume everything that follows is not true, but let's treat it as though it is for the sake of this. That 2 of her children were taken away from Miss Good because her wife used the 2 kids' arms as an ashtray to put her cigarettes out. If that's true, she's awful. So it's a big if. If that's true, what does that have to do with any of this? What does her being awful have to do with whether or not the police officer is allowed, or the ICE agent is allowed to behave this way? What's the relevance? But I think you know that this is not, it's unrelated. If it's a matter of principle, if it's a matter of procedure, if it's a matter of what power do we allow people who carry guns for the government to have? And I ask the libertarians amongst you to chime in here, or at least for you to go ask some of them. What does it matter? In this hypothetical, she has a bad spouse. That means she's worthy of death? No, certainly not. It has nothing to do with it. But why did this person tell you that it matters, Kathy? Why did this person try to distract you from the actual conversation? The conversation being, is ICE allowed to just straight up kill people when they get mad? That's what happened. She went from 0 miles an hour to 1 mile an hour. She had her wheels turned away. We just saw the video. At best, the guy was bumped, and when he killed her, he was already safe. He drew his gun and shot her from the side. And he called her a fucking bitch. He got angry. And in his anger, he acted with hostility and he killed somebody. He shot an unarmed mother. He shot an unarmed mother. Do we allow them to act this way? No. Why did this podcaster try to get you to just hate Renee Good? Well, if I focus on why I don't like this person that got killed, I don't then have to think about whether or not the way she killed is something she was killed is something I want to allow on my streets. That person was intentionally misleading you. That person was intentionally trying to distract you. They were intentionally trying to make you a worse person. They've got you defending the death of a mother of three, Kathy. And the thing is, I think you're here because that's not really who you are. I think you're better than these times have made you. I think we are all better than these times have made us. I'm going to wrap it there for the day, folks. I think we got a lot to think about. My assessment of that clip, Kristi Noem can't be trusted. Jake Tapper did okay there, but he's still too annoying for me to ever fully consider a human being. This has been WYCD Wicked. That stands for what you can do. If you want to see what more insufferable lefties think, we're heading over to My Left Eye. From the UK,